Hello, this is Ella. Making a character. I think creating things from scratch is kind of scary, especially if you don't know where to start, but also having a clean slate can also be very freeing because there's so many different paths you can take. So today I wanted to give some insight on how I go about character design. This isn't the end all be all, of course. This is just my method of doing it. So this doesn't mean that this is 100% like the correct way. I just wanted to say that in case I say something that other character design people don't normally do. Some insight on me so you can trust me a little bit is I do have a degree in digital storytelling, and underneath that branch of that major is like stuff like storyboard and character design. Okay, so let's get started. So you don't necessarily have to have a story idea in mind. Personally, that's what I think, and that's okay. So let's see what we can do to like come up with ideas. If you have like absolutely no idea, I think that looking at different writers' prompts or going to generators, even if you don't follow the generators that you end up like looking at, I feel like it helps get the brain juices flowing. You can do this they have generators for basically anything. They have it for like writing stories, names, world building, etc. So here you have this website. It gives you a lot of different stuff to work. It's like a really detailed profile thing. It talks about the character's life and has like their age and some like a brief description of what they look like that you can follow as well. Like I said, you don't have to take everything from this, but it's just like a good place to start. I just pushed the random button a couple of times and then clicked OK and got this. And I also generated some random prompts to give more idea of their role and what they'd be in the story. And I gotta say, I am pretty hectic with my workflow, so I apologize in advance if it's hard to follow when I get to all these different parts. So after I copy and paste everything in the generator, I wrote down the things that I'm actually gonna take from it. I don't know if I'm gonna make his name still Simon, but right now just having a name is nice, so I kept that. He's 18, he likes tennis, wants to go into medicine. I took the part that he's selfish, that he's shy, has bad morals, by fear of flying, he's a short king, and all like the other different descriptions. Grew up rich, and then all that stuff. Now these next two parts are gonna coincide with each other. So right now, this doesn't really feel like enough to really start drawing or sketching out a character. It's missing like something. What is it missing? It looks like it's missing something salty. We have the sweet, but we need the salty. Oh my god, it's the peanut butter and jelly tactic. So during my college experience, one of the classes that was the most helpful for me taught me this tactic. And it doesn't apply just to character design. You can use this tactic for story writing, for drawing not even character design too. Like if you want to draw like a background, just like pretty much anything you can use this tactic for. I'm gonna try to explain it the best I can. So a quick overview of the peanut butter and jelly. I'll be using the character from Cintiq because I think that the Cintiq characters do a really good job of using this thing. So there's Toritsuka. He's a spirit medium. That's part of him. So that's the peanut butter, and he is one of the few characters that knows about Cintiq's power. So because of this, you think that he would be a really good confidant to Cintiq because he's someone that could talk freely about Cintiq's powers, blah blah blah, but that's wrong. Because Toritsuka has the trope that is common among comedy animes, and that is the pervert trope. So what is his peanut butter and jelly? It's that Toritsuka is a Buddhist priest, medium, and he is someone who can relate to Cintiq. However, he is incredibly perverted, and that's, also there's irony with that because he is a Buddhist priest. And there's peanut butter and jelly. He's not just the common pervert guy in the comedy anime. And that's what Cintiq does for a lot of the characters. They take a standard trope of a character type in comedy and they spin them in some way. But yeah, okay. So it doesn't have to be this character is blank, but they blank. So it doesn't have to be like a but. It can be just basically something that complements each other is what it is. And here are some other examples of peanut butter and jelly. It basically helps you with the fact that like a lot of people said that a lot of things have been done before, like everything has already been done before. So you take something and then you add another element to it in order for it to become your own thing. So now that we have some elements to work with, we might not have a peanut butter and jelly, but we have somewhere to start. Now for what many consider to be a more harder thing to do, which is the research. Personally, I hate anything research related when I was doing stuff for school like book reports or just like looking anything up and just like researching and like gathering all this like information. But for something like character design, it's much more like open-ended and there's not really a solution. It's you find your own solution. So say you wanted to incorporate pirate elements to a character. Your first instinct obviously would be like look up pirates or maybe pirate outfits. You see something you like and go ahead and save it and add it to your mood board for the character. But it shouldn't stop right there. You shouldn't just do that. Afterwards, what I would do is look at maybe objects that relate to pirates, such as parts of the ship, maybe how they have like a pet parrot, maybe even like creatures that you'd find in the sea that coincide with pirates. And with that, you can find a way to incorporate that into the design itself. An example would be like turning the steering wheel of a pirate ship into an earring, or like making that maybe a button to their jacket or something. Thinking outside the box like that could help you come up with like really interesting concepts. We can also use research to figure out more about the character, giving a character more symbolism with an object or maybe a concept of some sort. It doesn't have to be something physical. It could be pretty much anything. An example being maybe they're tied closely to an animal. So you look up how different animals act and maybe their mannerisms, and you can put that into the character. For an example with like maybe inanimate objects, I recently made some characters that have, each one has like a gemstone element to them. So I took inspiration with maybe how some of the gemstones are like not made, but just like how they are taken care of, or like the history of the gemstones, and put that into the character. An example being like how a ruby is really durable, so maybe you can make your character more durable, stuff like that. And make sure to write down or copy and paste all this information that you gather that you find useful into like a Google Doc, or you can write it down to help keep you organized. And it's okay if it's messy at first, because you're gonna be able to organize your thoughts after you've gathered everything, but you don't wanna lose something because you might forget. And also with your research, you can also gather visuals to help you. Having references are extremely important in anything character design related. And if I'm making multiple characters at once, I usually make a Pinterest board, and I have like different selections to a board itself. This is basically what I did for Friendly Facade. Each character has a board, but it's all encompassed into one major board, the Friendly Facade inspo board. And it's nice because you can find a lot of cool stuff once you click the view more ideas thing. If I'm doing it for just one character, I usually just use something called Pure Rough, and it's a nice place to easily drag and have everything in one spot. I also have a Chrome extension that allows me to save pictures to Pinterest from anywhere, which is also very, very useful. But yeah, okay, so let's go to the mood board. And here I'm just gathering a bunch of different things like the clothes. I'm Googling stuff that is related to the character that I was, researching stuff for, and having like different faces, because I'm not really sure the face I want yet. I'm just like playing around with things so far. Since I mentioned tennis, I'm adding, tennis clothes, tennis elements, and lots of like science related things, stuff like that. So after I got everything with Simon's character and I was thinking of what the peanut butter and jelly could be, I was having a lot of trouble. I wrote down like a bunch of different things of what I wanted. I found that like the snake thing that's to do with like medicine that I thought was cool, and I like researched that. Turns out that there's like a non-poisonous snake that they would just let roam around. That's kind of crazy. And I wrote different like ideas, different like scenarios for the character that might be helpful, like why he's afraid of flying. It mentioned that he only has a mom, so I thought that maybe it could be something to do with like his dad disappeared. He doesn't know where his dad is. And basically what I settled on, I said maybe his dad left research behind and now he wants to finish it. His dad mysteriously disappeared and everyone thought his dad was a bad guy. So he wants to finish his father's research to prove to everyone that they were wrong about him, because due to them thinking poorly of his father, it also maybe reflects badly on him as well. He gets obsessive about it, and that is the reason that he's unable to go to college, because he says he wants to get into medicine, but it said that he decided not to go to college. So I thought that maybe that could give a good reason on why he's not going to college. And I had an idea to mix him with like an element of like Victor Frankenstein mixed with something else. And so the peanut butter and jelly that I decided for him, it's not the strongest peanut butter and jelly, I'll say that. But I wrote medicine scientist, or just scientist in general, mixed with tennis player. So his story, I simplified it. Basically, his story is that he was a tennis pro, or at least he was in high school. He was really into tennis. And after the disappearance of his father, he got really into science and trying to find where he is, or basically find a way to maybe bring his father back, because he's not really sure what happened to him. I'm not really sure on the details, but the simplification of it is it's just scientists and tennis equals this character. Okay, so on to the first draft of sketches. This is the part where you play around with a lot of stuff, draw a lot of different variations, basically throw everything to the board and see what sticks. Even if the first one is the best, it's still good to try out different things. Some rule of designing I know is you're not supposed to make the design too complex or too simple. I think it also depends on taste as well. I don't know. I really don't mind really wacky designs as long as it's like cohesive, or like ones that like think like really outside the box that are just like very very absurd. I just think they're really cool personally. If you have an idea for something with a design too, and it just doesn't fit the character, make sure you write it down so you don't forget, and maybe you can give it to another character in the future. Oh yeah, and don't be afraid to show people your drawing during this stage, even if it's like really messy, because getting feedback this early in the stage is very helpful, and you might get some really good ideas from like people from something you like didn't really think about, because like maybe you're too far into like your idea that you had that you didn't think of something like a little bit different that would like change your drawing drastically, something like that. And then once you're happy with your design, this is the part where I'd go to my iPad or tablet to start getting a single design down pat. And if you have a good idea on the character and their personality, try to come up with a nice pose that reflects their character, but also still like shows off their outfit. So what I did was I kind of gave him a little bit of an unnatural look. I scrapped the idea of him being 18. He's a little bit older now. He, instead of having just very dark black eyes, he has very vivid, like bright green eyes that are supposed to look like tennis balls. His outfit, like I said, is a mixture of scientist and tennis player. So he has tennis shorts, and his outfit's supposed to kind of look almost unnatural. He has medical gloves. I know that some tennis players have gloves too, so it's kind of also to just like play into the tennis player look as well as being scientist. His outfit that he has, like his shirt is like a button up that looks very like scientist like, and the buttons on the button up are like tennis balls. They're gonna be smaller, but that's what I have. And he has kind of like a suspender like thing that has medicines on the side, and that's supposed to be in the shape of a tennis court if you were to look at it from a bird's eye view. The belt needs to be colored in, but it's the shape of a tennis racket. His socks are test tube socks that have like some weird blue liquid in it, and instead of having, I guess, scientist shoes, which I view as scientist shoes being like more fancier, he has like a really nice pair of tennis shoes that look kind of like expensive, which goes into he has like a lot of money. He's more of an upper class person. His hair, it said that his hair was gray, but I made it that he was starting to get gray hair from stress, and it's very unkempt and long, and he has a broken lens for one of his glasses, and he's very like fancy glasses. So for colors, the colors have different emotions and meanings, but you don't necessarily have to pick a color palette based on that. You can pick a color palette if you just think it looks nice too, but if you're having trouble coming up with a color palette, if your character was based on like the animal, like I said earlier, or an object, you can always take colors from that, or you can use a generator. That's an old reliable, because coming up with colors is not my forte. I do play around with this one a lot. I just kind of see what looks good and what doesn't. Don't be afraid to make like the hair and eyes not cohesive with the outfit, because I don't think that that's something that's that big of a deal. I think as long as the outfit looks nice, I feel like everything else doesn't like need to be 100% good. Pretty much for the most part it. That's how I go about doing the character design process. I will say I do have a tendency to redo my characters a lot and evolve them over time, but give it time and let the characters simmer just for like a little bit at least. Don't be afraid to change them, and if you're not happy with it at all, like feel free to go back and change the thing 100% completely, because I've done that before too. Anyway, I hope this helped, and I apologize if anything was confusing, and I could explain it better in the comments if you have any questions.